It's a view straight out of a Western. Red rocks, broad vistas, cattle grazing. And if you think Colorado's Escalante Canyon is the perfect place to get away from it all, you're not the first.
And a lot of the people came to the canyon because the property was cheap. There was water here. There was land to raise some hay for cattle. And so they thought they could make a living off of it.
Remote doesn't begin to describe it.
And when they moved into this canyon, it was kind of their last resort. And back in those days, they had to make a living with their hands and survive with that.
In 1911, two settlers found the isolation appealing and set up homesteads. Harry Walker and his boys settled on this flat spot of land next to the creek, building a small 6-room stone cabin. The Walkers were stonemasons by trade, and the property supplied ample loose stone for them to hone their craft.
They used the materials in the canyon that were available, and as you can see in this structure, it was rock.
Next door, if 4 miles upstream could be considered that, a vertical slab of rock caught the attention of Captain Henry Smith.
I made a living by making tombstones.
And like the Walker's cabin, Smith's cabin showcased his skill.
We understand he carved this thing out as a sleeping platform.
The large slab forms one wall of his small cabin.
It's almost, in some ways, a dugout. Now, it's real clever the way he built against that rock.
But Smith didn't stop there. Behind his cabin,
This building was a little more finished.
Smith built a bunkhouse for friends and travelers.
He was a very social guy, had a lot of buddies that gamed with and hunted with, and this is where they would stay.
It shows the ingenuity and the endurance of folks that settled in these areas and how they had to be resourceful.
In the Escalante Canyon, no resource is more precious than water.
It's probably the last water wheel left on the Gunnison.
Waterwheels scooped water from the river to feed irrigation ditches in the lands above. This iron water wheel dates from the 1930s, replacing a wooden wheel that washed away.
They added a crank to it so that you could lift it up out of the water during high water. And that's the reason that water wheel's still there today.
The scoops, yet another testament to the residents' ability to use what was available.
It looks like they're made out of old mufflers.
If you can see sky through a roof, you're in trouble. You need help.
Help is the operative word in historic preservation. These 3 sites all sit on land owned by the state, but with no resources in place for upkeep, they're left to the elements. Natural.
This whole wall has failed because of water damage.
And human.
Because the public tends to come in here, and if it looks like nobody's taking care of it and they see something they want, they dismantle it and take it home.
Preservationists hope the area's new designation as a natural conservation area will bring attention and money to restore these sites.
It was created to preserve it and then come up with a plan for future generations. I think everyone's very interested in preserving what's here because they are unique structures. It's also part of the ongoing history of Delta County.
I think it's a really nice way for us to see what our predecessors lived with and what they may do with, and this is important to our history and our understanding.
And he did it all himself with his own 2 hands. And I don't think there's many people today that would consider doing that. And I think that's what we're trying to preserve.